Hey, what's up? John Sonmez here, just finishing my workout. So, what should we talk about today? I was thinking about this concept. I was trying to vocalize it to a buddy of mine that I was lifting with. You probably know this dude. His name is Manny from 2000 Books, and I've had him on the channel a couple times, promoted some of his products. You should go check out his channel if you haven't. But he started lifting with me here in San Diego, and I have to give him some credit. The dude is like doing my 2.5 hour. Ends up being about 2.5 hours to 3 hours when we're working out together. But he ends up doing these workouts with me, and he's pretty damn consistent, which most people are not. When I go and they say they're going to start lifting with me, but it's a jaywalk here. But anyway, what I want to talk about was something that I was trying to kind of talk about with him. You know, I didn't have the concept fully baked. I still probably don't, but I'm going to call it crossing the chasm. And the idea is that there's a bunch of things in life where there's a chasm and there's no way to become good enough that you can make a gradual improvement. You just are or you're not, right? And you just make that decision. So I was trying to think of some good examples. One of them would be like, let's say you're gonna skydive or bungee jump, right? Okay, so either you do or you don't, right? There's no like really leading up to it. There's not a lot of like exercises or things you could do to build up that tolerance of the fear or the courage to do that, besides just to do it, right? Like at the moment that you're standing in that plane and you decide to jump out, right, you just have to do it. There's no baby steps. There's nothing that you can inch up to that's going to make it any easier. You're just going to make the decision and go for it. And there's a lot of life that's like that. I was thinking about, just from a social aspect, right? You could say with filming, and I always talk about freedom, right? You can check out my freedom playlist. But this idea of having that total freedom, of really not caring what people think, of really just being, carefree in that way, of having that total freedom. In order to have that, like you can have that in an instant when you choose to, but you have to make that choice, right? It's that chasm. You have to jump that chasm. And if you don't jump the chasm, it doesn't matter, right? Like maybe you can make some arguments that you're progressing towards it, but you can have it in an instant, the instant that you decide that you do, right? Decide that you become that person and you're willing to do what it takes. And there's a lot of things, like I said, in life, you can inch your way up and you can perfect and you can improve, but think of it, this is how I think of it, right? If we go back to that analogy of jumping out of a plane, right? If you inch your way up to the door of the plane before you jump out, like you can progress further and further. You could even you could take it to the extreme and you could hang out of the plane with your arms holding on to the to the bar, or holding on to the plane and hanging there, right? Or you could hang with one hand, right? That would be more of the progression. But at some point, there's this breaking point where you're just gonna have to do it. You're just gonna have to let go. You're just gonna have to jump. And there's no intermediate between that, not really. You see what I'm saying? It's kind of silly, comical to make those, the inching towards the door that you're making is actually not making progress. They actually getting into the plane, they actually going up there, they actually committing to doing it. Those are all things that are actually making progress for you. But once you're up there and you're inching towards the door, you're not actually making progress by getting closer and closer to the door or hanging out of the door. It doesn't make any sense, right? So anyway, I gotta grab my dinner, but that's the concept, right? That's the idea, is this chasm. And essentially, there's a lot of things in life like that, right? And part of it is that freedom, right? And I've been working on this, but in my mind, I guess, just to be totally real with you guys here, I saw this, I was like, you know what? I just have to decide one day that I'm there. And I will be, as soon as I decide, as soon as I'm willing to put it all on the line, willing to risk it all, and really honestly not give a fuck what anyone thinks about what I'm doing. And you can be there in an instant. You make that transformation when you make that decision. Again, I'm not saying that there's not things that will cause you to grow and develop as a person, to build a character so that you can make that decision. But you just have to realize that there are those things, right? There are those levels of progression that require the faith, that require the jumping out, that require jumping the chasm in order to get there, and you can't inch your way up. As much as you'd like to evolve and baby step your way through things, and there are plenty of things you can do that, there's plenty of things that you can't either. And when you hit one of those things, you know, like overcoming a fear is a really good example. In many of those cases, like having courage, you just have to fucking do it. You just have to make the decision. And there is nothing that's gonna make it easier. Like, you're just gonna have to do it. So, all right, that's all I got for you today. Make sure you click the subscribe button if you haven't already, and I'll talk to you next time. Take care.